Hello, and welcome to another episode of The Quiet Gardener with Rose. And I am Rose. So, welcome back. Thank you to all of you who have stuck with me over these weeks. And so, today's topic is a little bit different. It is going to be very off the cuff. I put out a post on Facebook and I asked people what topics they would like for me to discuss in the upcoming episodes of The Quiet Gardener. And one of the topics was how a gentleman should treat a woman. And that was from a male person. What I'm assuming is a conservative and traditional male, because those are most of the people who I interact with on Facebook. So that's a broad topic. And of course, I cannot answer that from a male's perspective in terms of how men should be treating women that are gentlemen or claiming to be gentlemen out there in the world. I can answer from the perspective of a woman who has quite a bit of experience out in them dating streets. So I'll answer it from that perspective in terms of what are reasonable expectations that a young lady or any lady should have as she goes about interacting with potential suitors and conducting herself out there in the dating marketplace. Now, I'm gearing this towards younger women who maybe don't have a lot of experience or a lot of good experience in the dating world. There may be older women who don't necessarily have the best playbook for by which to attract and date desirable potential partners. And so I will say that although I am single, I have had my share of relationships and dating experiences, and to be honest with you, I can't really complain too much about the experiences that I have had. In general, men have treated me fairly well when it comes to dating. Men have generally shown manners with me and positive regards. Um, yeah, so I don't have a whole lot of horror stories in that respect. And part of that, a big part of that is the way I carry myself and the types of men that I attract. And also, the way you carry yourself will influence the way a male treats you, regardless of his character at the end of the day, whether he's a roughneck or a gentleman. If you come to the situation and you conduct yourself in a certain way, most men who are interested in you at least will make some attempt to conduct themselves accordingly. So I would have to say that I have not had a lot of horrible experiences in dating. I just have not uh, obviously secured a significant relationship with a man who has the same goals as I do and who is as interested in me as I am in him. So, it's a matter of trying to find a needle in a haystack. But needless to say, I still have some wisdom in this area, and in general, I have positive regard for men and positive regards for dating and that whole thing. And so I am not some bitter woman who has all these horrible things to say about men today. All right, so this is off the cuff, but I am going to try to keep it into my 20 minutes, which will help me help me not be so long-winded and not go off on tangents. But let me just say, okay, this is all from my perspective, obviously. My opinion, your opinion can differ, whatever. That's fine. I can only tell you what I know and how I've conducted myself out there in the streets and what I found that works and doesn't work. I will also say that I talk to men almost every day. In my professional life, most of my clientele are men. And so men are telling me what they like and don't like and want literally all day, every day. So, I think I do have some insight, and not only are men telling me what they want and don't want, but also I listen to the men that I respect. I have male friends and acquaintances in my life that I think are stand up gentlemen and just amazing people. And so they've talked candidly with me about the issues between women and men these days and the issues they've confronted when dealing with women. And so I think I do get to hear both sides of the coin. And I think I tend to have a balanced perspective on this issue. Yeah. I don't see any one side as being bad or good. Both sides can take some pointers and kind of try to meet in the middle. Okay, so getting to the point, in terms of dating, now let me preface this by saying my views of dating may differ from popular views of dating, secular views of dating, because I do come from a Christian Catholic perspective, meaning that, in my opinion, the whole purpose of dating is to find a spouse, period. In the story. So that is why we date. That is why I date. I don't date for any other reason. I'm not dating for a good time, for fun, for, seconds of pleasure. I am dating to discern someone who could potentially be a suitable long term partner for me, i.e., husband. Okay. So, in my opinion, if you are not looking for a spouse, you should not necessarily be dating because that's the whole point of dating to find a spouse. Now, so I'm going to discuss dating from that perspective of you are a person who is intentional in what you're doing. And so you're out there dating with the intent of finding somebody who could be your potential spouse. And so, from that perspective, there are two levels to this. Okay. So, when you're dating, I'll call it dating, and that means you're just casually getting to know people, right? To discern whether that is somebody you want to pursue more seriously in terms of, is this the person that could potentially be my mate? And so when you meet people, when you're first starting out, that's the dating phase from my opinion. And so dating to me are brief interludes of meeting. And so it's not necessarily what popular culture would have you think of as dating. So when I say dating, I'm talking about coffee dates. I'm talking about, let's take a stroll. Let's take a long walk. Let's take a stroll in the park. Let's go work out together for an hour. Let's do something that is brief, that is in public, that is hopefully during the day, where you can literally just be in each other's company and kind of have some conversation. So to me, that is what you should be doing when you're first meeting people that you're interested in or attracted to. So coffee dates, a date over drinks, a date for a walk at a park, those kinds of things to me are perfectly acceptable. And a date should not last, to me, longer than 2 hours. It should be brief, right? Because it's like a meet and greet. It's like you're talking, you're having some coffee, you're chatting, and when you're doing this, it is intentional. So you're talking with the intent of finding out if this is somebody you would like to possibly get to know on a deeper level. And so you're asking pertinent questions. You're not sitting there talking about the weather. So, example, you meet somebody, either you see them somewhere and you approach them. If you're a man, you approach the woman. Women, you should not be approaching men. No. Women are to present and approve. So you present yourself. If you see a man you like, you make eye contact, you smile, you look away. Maybe later on in that occurrence, You notice that he's looking at you again. You again make eye contact and smile. That's what you do. You present and you let him know in some way that you are open to his advances. You do not go around pursuing, chasing men. You don't go up to men and ask them, no, that's not what a lady does. Okay. So after you do that, then it's up to him to shoot his shot. Either he's going to talk to you, he's going to come over and talk to you, say something, make it known that he would like to get to know you better, possibly. And that's how that goes. But you should never be pursuing a man as a young woman, or any woman for that matter. I shouldn't say young woman. Any woman. You should never be pursuing a man. You are there to uh, to alert him that you have an interest, and then to approve, meaning that if he, shows interest or makes an advance towards you, then obviously you let him know you're interested and that you'd like to get to know him. So a first date, second date, even third date, I wouldn't go further than 3 dates, because within 3 days you should know whether this is someone you want to get to know better or not. So these are short dates. They shouldn't be longer than 2 hours. They should be coffee, a drink, walk in the park, a sandwich in the park. Something simple where you can have some time to actually have a conversation one on one and get to know each other. And during this time that you're getting to know each other, you're having meaningful conversation. You're not sitting there talking about trivial things. You're asking important questions. Hey, you know, uh, what's your lifestyle like? What are your values? What are your goals? What's your relationship like with family members? What's important to you? All of these things. So you're trying to kind of get a snapshot, discern what's going on with this person. Who is this person? And so by the third date of doing that, you should kind of know whether this is somebody you would truly be interested in pursuing further, to see if you can have something serious or not. And if it is a not, if there are red flags or things that you're like, we don't mesh on, then that's the end of it. You don't keep going. And unfortunately, it seems for women that they tend to just keep going. And I think that's to our detriment. We will tend to keep going on in situations and meeting men where we really aren't into the guy, or we've really seen things that we don't necessarily want. And why do we do that? I don't know. It could be because we are afraid of hurting someone's feelings by saying no thank you, or because we're desperate, thinking that we're not going to get many opportunities. Uh, Whatever the reason is, you need to stop it. Okay, you need to stop it. Don't waste your time. Don't waste his time. If you are not aligned in these initial dates and on the important things, meaning the things that matter to you, then you don't go any further. That's the end of it. You can say to a man can say to a woman, I've really enjoyed speaking with you and conversating with you, but I don't think this is a good fit. And that's okay. There is nothing wrong with that. And I think at the end of the day, mature adults will appreciate you much more if you're direct and to the point versus leading them down a path that you don't want to be on. Okay? So that's what dating to me is. It is a short, brief, getting to know you sessions, talking to discern if you want to go any further. Now, in terms of how you conduct a date, you know, like I said, I think the best course is to meet for coffee or drinks, or at a park, go for a walk if the weather is nice. Something where you're kind of out in public, nothing too intimate, but where you also have the opportunity to have some conversation. Um, so you want to talk and get to know each other. Now, in terms of just general parameters on a date, in terms of who pays and all that stuff, it doesn't really matter. Talking coffee. Coffee is $5. So in general, a male should offer to pay if you're meeting for a coffee or a drink or something like that. It is a goodwill gesture that he has resources and that he is willing to invest some of his resources into getting to know you. Okay. Now, if a man, if you're listening, if you're so cheap that you can't even spend $5 or $10 to pay for a coffee or a drink with a young lady that you are interested in, that you asked out, then you got bigger problems than than not be a gentleman. Okay, so yeah, that shouldn't be an issue. Now, obviously, if you come to the meeting place and you get there earlier and you buy your own coffee or your own drink and you're good, fine. The man should be asking you if you want a refill or if you want a second, and he should be paying for that. Period. End of story. Now, let me say that in my years of dating, in terms of this this procedure that I talk about, these brief um, initial dates, I have found that that it is a wonderful plan. There is not a lot of pressure. If you don't like each other, you're not going to be stuck with each other for too long. A man isn't asked to invest a lot of financial resources into this date. He's not taking you to top steakhouse and spending hundreds of dollars when he doesn't even know you. And to me, that's perfectly fine. Also, a woman should not feel any kind of guilt about a guy paying for coffee or a drink. At the end of the day, if you have traditional values, men are providers, or they should be. And so, as I said before, him paying for a coffee or a drink is a goodwill gesture. And so it's not asking a lot. And he should be more than happy to, if he's a gentleman, is happy about having your company and having conversation with you. So that shouldn't be a problem. Women, you should not feel guilty about a man buying you a coffee. So many women are like, oh, I don't want him to expect anything, so I'm going to pay for my stuff. Like, what would he be expecting for $5 or $10? What you going to do for 5 or 10? Girl, please. Okay, so that's not the amount of money that one should be expecting anything for. So that's out the window. There's no expectations. And even if he has them, that's his problem, not yours, because the gentleman wouldn't be having expectations of anything inappropriate on the first couple of dates. It is about conversation. It is about getting to know who this person is, where they're coming from, and is this somebody that I might like to get to know better. Now, when you're actually then dating, say you decide to go further and you decide, ooh la la, I like this guy, and I'd like to spend more time with him, and he decides the same, and you have that conversation. Let's get to know each other better, and then you're having more significant dates, meaning that they're more involved, more detailed, more time together. So I'm just going to touch on some superficial aspects of this dating ritual um, that might be helpful to some people. I'm not going to go into too much detail because there's a whole lot of stuff one could talk about when it comes to relationships and dating. So I'm just going to stick to the superficial how it goes. Generally speaking, if you decide with a male that you're interested in, that you would like to get to know each other a little bit better, the onus is on him to plan the first real date, serious date. At least the first one, maybe all of them, it depends, but at least the first one. So the onus is on him to plan it, to decide what you guys are going to do, to also pay for it, um, to work out the logistics with you in terms of, are you going to meet up somewhere? Is he going to pick you up at your place? All of those good things. There are some things I would encourage women to think about if you're dating, going on serious dates with men, or any dates with men, really. How you conduct yourself, that's really important. I have found in my years of dating that men will generally meet you where you are, meaning, regardless of what kind of guy he is, whether he's a gentleman, whether he's a roughneck, whether he's a gangster kind of dude, uh, if he really likes you or he's really interested, he will try to step it up. He will try to meet you wherever you are in terms of what you display to him as what's required or what you want, which is a great thing. And so I have found that with a lot of men, especially in this era, they are not necessarily used to women being ladies and being gentle. And so they don't necessarily automatically do a lot of things that a traditional woman like me would want them to do. And so I found that you have to give out hints, give out indicators that there are certain things you like. So, for example, I'm just going to just deal with some basic kind of black and white things. I personally am accustomed to men opening doors for me. Yes, that's the caliber of man I generally date, and that's generally how I've been treated over my lifetime, and that's what I expect. And so, not all men are used to that because there are some women, lots of women, that if a man opened the door for her, she would get upset. She would have an issue. Are you opening doors for me? I can open my own damn doors. Yeah, I've literally seen it. I'm not making this up. I've literally seen a woman go off because a man attempted to be gentlemanly towards her. So, um, so it's not that necessarily men aren't gentlemen. It's just that they're not necessarily, I think, sure in this day and age of what's acceptable, what would be deemed inappropriate, what would be deemed condescending. I don't know. They don't know. So you have to kind of give indicators. And so for me, I like a man to open doors. I like that whole treatment of a gentleman. And so what I will do to alert a man that these are my preferences in my subtle way is, for example, when it comes to opening doors. One, when I am walking with a man, be it to a door, be it to his car, my car, even, I walked a little bit, a step maybe behind him. So I'm not rushing out in front of him, trying to race him to the destination. No, I'm not marching ahead. I walked a step behind. And so that gives him the opportunity to get there first. And if he is so inclined, to open the door for me. Now, if he doesn't seem to be getting it, meaning he walks up to the door and he's just like standing there or whatever the case may be, I pause. So, and these things, you have to practice these things because they're subtle. It can't be obvious. So I do a slight pause. Meaning if I get to the door before he does or at the same time, or he's just standing there, I pause. I pause. I stand there daintily, not with any kind of attitude, with a pleasant expression on my face, and I just kind of wait. And for most men who have any kind of home training, they will pick up on that and they'll be like, "Oh, come on, open the door." They will open the door. Now, you can't do it in an attitude. You can't get there and have your hands crossed and be like, I expect you to open the door. You can't yell at him to open the door. You can't do any of that nonsense. You really have to have a certain disposition about yourself, a certain poise, a certain kindness about your demeanor. And oftentimes that is enough for the man to understand that that's what you prefer. Now, if you do all that and he still doesn't get it, he might not be a gentleman. Or it may be a situation where later on, if you decide to continue to see each other, you may have to discuss that with him and say, hey, I noticed that, when we get to doors or when we're getting in and out of the car, that you don't necessarily offer to open the door for me. And that's something I really, really like and appreciate. And something that makes me uh, feel respected and cared for. So, do you think that's something maybe you can do? And he might say yes, he might say no. But regardless of whatever he says, that's his stance on it, and so you have to decide whether that works for you. But in general, I have found that with light prompting, men tend to gentlemen, or men who have some remnants of training in them, tend to respond to that kind of thing. Taking a step back, slowing it down, and allowing the man the opportunity to lead, the opportunity to demonstrate that he can be a gentleman, the opportunity to open a door for you, the opportunity to even do things like order for you when you go to a restaurant. I will often do that if I am actually in the 14 phase and, we're out to dinner. I may very well ask a man to order for me if it comes time for drinks or appetizers. What do you suggest? And allow him to order for me. Or I may even tell him before the waitress comes, hey, I'd really like this drink or this appetizer. Would you order for me? And I think, gentlemen tend to, again, appreciate those prompts. And it doesn't mean you have to do that every time you go out with someone, but I'm just mentioning things that you can do as a woman that might help you garner some of that care and attention you might want from a gentleman when it comes to dating and courting and just the kind of black and white aspects of how that goes. All right. And so I think I have reached my 20-minute mark. Yeah. So also, when it comes to this dating and courting, again, you want to keep this appropriate, meaning that if you're discerning whether this is somebody you want to get to know better or whether you're discerning marriage or not, this is all under the premise that any kind of intimate or sexual interaction is really off the table. That is off the table. In my opinion, it should be off the table until marriage. But I knew not many people are trying to do that. So it should at least be off the table until you decide that you are going to invest in each other in terms of a monogamous coupling or relationship. I mean, to me, even that is questionable. However, I know people do things differently now, but I really don't see the point of having sex before marriage if your goal is marriage. And people can say what they want. You can say, "Oh, I want to test it out." Test it out. What does that mean? There's no testing out. At the end of the day, if you have the right mindset and heart set towards your partner, then there is no worries when it comes to intimacy. You will make it work out because you will both be focused on pleasing your partner. So to me, that's BS. There is no question about whether we're going to be sexually or intimately compatible or not. Yeah, of course you will be. If you love each other, you committed to each other, this is your partner, this is it. You're going to figure out how to please each other. Believe you me. So this whole idea of testing something out is is BS. It's an excuse because we want to be wild and do what we want to do. And if you want to do that, then you can do that. It's a sin, but you can still do it. Just call a thing what it is. Say it like it is. Don't disguise it as something else. At the end of the day, if you want to have sex outside of wedlock, just say you want to have sex outside of wedlock because you want pleasure. Um, that has nothing to do with forming a lifelong partnership or discerning marriage. Okay. All right. So, in my opinion, that shouldn't be happening during this dating or courting phase. So, I'm not even necessarily going to address that or get into that. But when you're dating or courting, obviously, if you are doing it the traditional way, and if you are trying to do it without sinning, then you want to keep those dates time limited because you don't want to introduce any kinds of temptations. Meaning, you don't you're not going over for Netflix and chill if you're trying to date and discern marriage, because usually that only leads to a couple of things. Things are usually not appropriate between people who aren't married. And so you shouldn't be putting yourself in compromising situations with men uh, that you aren't married to, or betrothed to, engaged to be married to. Yeah, you shouldn't be doing that. So that means no extended periods of time one on one together. You're not traveling together. You're not taking trips together. You're not having overnights together. You're having dates, meaning those are time limited episodes, hopefully in public, or where other people are involved, and so that you can get to know each other, discern how that person is in different settings with different people, with their family members, with their friends, and then go from there. So I have definitely reached my 20-minute mark, and obviously, I haven't gone into detail about these topics, and how much detail can I go into in 20 minutes, but just as kind of a cursory, this is probably prudent advice for how to conduct yourself as you go about the whole dating world and courting world. Hopefully you've gleaned a tidbit or two. Okay, so that is all I have to say for this episode. Until next time, bye bye.